FEMA, we see that within the memo I told you about the project worksheet that we filed, the amounts that had been filed so far, and the other ones where they're finishing up the paperwork on the tree removal, and then also the stuff on the electric work from the storm, or from the Christmas storm. Okay, so those are things that are still pending. We have filed the big one for the electric, that $662,000 was filed. They have started to work it up through the system, and I've already asked for some additional information and clarification. And it deals with our purchasing policy, our procurement policy of how we came about hiring Texoma to be our contractor. And you know, they're gonna say, why didn't you bid this thing? We're gonna say it is a true emergency. We have within our purchasing policy arrangements for true emergencies, and we follow our code, our policy. So, but they need to see our policies, and we'll provide them all that stuff and send it back up the chain. On the future electric work that is still pending, just take a look at that. And all that it is, this is a map of our rural electric system. Okay, anything that is marked with a blue line was an area that Bill had identified as an area where we had done work. Okay, so the blue lines are area we had done work. The blue line then is also the area that sustained the most damage, still has the most work to be done. So when they look at this, as far as work left to be done, they really divide it into three different categories. One just being additional repair work. And there will be just some plain additional repair work, whether it's fixing guys or retying lines. So if there is some areas where we're not going to rebuild, there's some of the stuff that would just be fixing it. So that's item number one. Item number three deals with hazard mitigation. Okay, and this is an opportunity to improve some of the lines, and they got a couple of aerial lines that they would look to put underground, and these are the things that are kind of more iffy as far as whether FEMA would fund them, because FEMA's funding would be what would it cost to replace the aerial line, and they would take their proportionate payment out of that, and if it costs more to put it underground, the city's responsible for the additional cost. There's three little areas where this would be proposed to happen, dealing with Hallett's, that line out by TCT and the line by Blackhawk Marine. Those are three areas where we actually have underground that comes up and goes aerial for a little while before it goes back underground. And this would get rid of that area that's aerial. But the main part of the project, and a lot of the areas shown in blue, would be what they call this reconductoring. And reconductoring is put up the new wire, but the new wire is substantially larger, bigger gauge, heavier than what the existing stuff is. So when you put up the new wire, you also respace the poles. And of course you don't put old poles back, you put all new poles back. It essentially ends up being a line rebuild in all these areas. So as of right now, this is kind of what our initial proposal will be, is that the areas in blue, the affected areas in blue, meet the qualifications for reconductoring, which is essentially rebuild. So that's about 41 miles worth of line. And that would be the proposal to FEMA is to reconductor those areas. Now we need to figure out how you structure the projects, and do they need to be connected by other rebuilt lines, and there's some things left to be figured out, but this all happens this week pretty much, because we got to declare our damage by essentially the end of the week. And the engineer's hard at it, and has done the legwork out here, and now it's more the consultation with FEMA about how you determine what the projects would be. So rough terms, it's $35,000 to $40,000 to rebuild a mile of line, so it's somewhere around $1.5 million. And that would, again, be split out on the same percentage, 75% FEMA and 10% state, 15% local. So we will aggressively pursue that.
So in rebuilding these lines, is this something we do ourselves, or do we contract this out to?
It would be contracted.
Okay.
That's kind of the update, though, about where we sit. Haven't seen the first dollar roll in yet, and it will be a little while yet because they're really questioning our big electric plant. We got to work through some of those issues yet.
But we don't expect trouble.
No, you don't expect trouble. You don't expect trouble. I guess it's my personal opinion that it ought to be hard to make a good claim. You ought not to just be able to submit whatever and expect to be reimbursed. The initial FEMA guy comes and helps you put the claim together, and then it's reviewed by 2 or 3 layers above that yet. So each person wants to take a look at something different. So it doesn't happen quickly, but I feel very good. We're well positioned for that.